Welcome to the Love Now Movement interview series hosted by Australian powerhouse spiritual teacher Susie Mazzoli. Together with a New York filmmaker Kevin Lewis, presents cutting-edge information in the field of consciousness, spirituality, science, and culture. We present in-depth interviews with the international movers and shakers, agents of change, and explore our rapid, expanded world. Come and join us on our Love Now across the world.
With Alan Steinfeld of New Realities, TV show, radio show, website, and you have been such a huge player in informing people. So much information comes from all of those sites. So I have so many questions to ask you. The first question, though, would really be about UFOs, because I think it's such a big topic for all of us. And I noticed that a lot of the spiritual community tends to shy away from UFO information.
Yeah.
So
I'm always surprised that the people who are open to spirituality and other levels of consciousness shy away from that, because for me it's part of the continuum. It's not like UFOs or aliens are spiritual in themselves, but they represent an alternate reality that has to do with a shift in consciousness. So shifting consciousness is really what spirituality is about. Meaning that, you know, we exist at one level, but you were just saying before the show you were starting to trance out, which is great. You were going into an altered state where you're bringing in those higher levels or those alternate levels. So,
and I have to say that you triggered that state.
Well, thank you. I do that for people. But so what's the question?
So just give us like the 101 on UFOs.
Well, it's not a simple
what's going
topic.
on? Yeah.
I think, first of all, we've been very programmed to see reality in a very limited way, like we're looking out a window that's like this big, that wide open, and there's this whole other realm of existence that is happening all around us, but culturally, we haven't been trained to see it. So we can't recognize what we don't cognize. The word recognition is to. So if something is beyond the scope of our awareness, doesn't matter if it's out here, we're not going to see it. So let's just start simply. I was out with this guy, Mark Brinkerhoff, out looking. It was a picnic, and he and his wife were there, a bunch of people. He said, look up at the sky, and very far away were these faint little shiny objects that seemed to just be hovering out there. I mean, I wasn't aware of it. He said he's got some kind of signal. I looked, and there was something there. But other people couldn't see it. They were looking in the same place. I mean, yes, it was very high up in the sky. It was something that was hard to make out, but there was definitely a group of us that saw something, and there was a group that didn't see something.
Is the difference between the two groups, a lot of people say it has to do with your personal frequency. So the more open you are, the higher frequency you're resonating at, the more you'll see.
Well, it's also that saying, it's not when you see, you'll believe it, but when you believe it, you'll see it. So if something is not within your worldview or in your framework of reality, it just isn't seen. Like often in the lectures I do, I show that film clip of the people playing basketball in the middle. There's this guy in a gorilla suit walks across the basketball court, and no one sees it, because before they watch it, I say to people, just count the basketballs being passed. So people are focused just on the basketballs being, and a guy right there, if you're not counting the is walking across the room in a gorilla suit, and no one sees it if you haven't been aware. The only people who see it are the artists. The only people who are able to perceive another level are the ones that are not so conditioned into this reality. So that is a simple demonstration of what they call cultural blindness. We only see what we're programmed to see. So right here around us in this space, there's a lot more happening, but we're not geared, we're not educated through our schooling, through our religion, through our government, through our media, to see more of reality. So what I wanted to do with New Realities is create a platform where people have an opportunity to see more than what we've been culturally really programmed and brainwashed to see. So getting back to the UFOs, it's a very precarious situation, because what we've learned in anthropology, when advanced civilization shows up to a primitive culture, those people lose their identity, they lose their sense of self, and they don't have a foundation. It's like the floor is ripped out from under them. So they are an advanced civilization. The fact that they are coming and going makes it easier for us to start to assimilate the possibility that there's more to reality, more to them, that they could be here. So there may be a flap of UFOs, it's in the papers, and then it dies out for a few years. And then it comes back. It's a story that's not going away. I can guarantee that. It'll appear, it'll disappear. It's as if we're being conditioned, and the time they appear, no one makes a big deal about it. It's not like, ooh, it's like, oh, that's the time the integration into the greater culture will take place. That is the moment of contact, in the sense. They will come and go, and people have experience. There will be abductions, or at least contact, and I've met some of the most amazing contact people that are out there, but it's not a part of our cultural meme, our cultural cognitive awareness, because we're not ready for it. It's still on the fringes, but with enough television programming, enough movies, enough news reports, there's a sort of seeping in of something else, and I think we're shifting awareness. You know, we had a history of paradigm shocking events, and even in like the culture. So let's say when Galileo, who didn't invent the telescope, all Galileo did was, the telescope was used as spying. It was called spyglass. You know, as these lenses. He pointed it at the stars. Everyone said, "Why are you doing that? We know what's up there, and plus that's God's bedroom, and you should peek in there." So Galileo said, "No, I want to look at the stars and see what else is there." Of course, he discovered the moons of Jupiter, and he opened the whole field of astronomy up way beyond. We're still living into that legacy. He discovered more to reality because he had the idea to do something else, to change the paradigm, to shift reality. So he looked at the stars, and of course now we have a whole legacy of what's really out there and more. Robert Fulton goes to Napoleon and said, "I have this new engine that will power your ship if we burn this wood underneath your decks." Napoleon freaks out and says, what are you talking about? You're going to make a fire under the ship and sail against the wind? People are stuck in paradigms. Even people like Bill Gates has said, you know, I think, what did he say? 1 megabyte is enough for any computer back in 1973. So people take the limits of the universe for their own limits, and we are now discovering there is no limit to what's possible. I say keep an open mind. See, you know, Heraclitus says expect the unexpected because it's difficult and hard to find, meaning that we get stuck in the way things are, and that's how they are for us, and we can't see outside the box, but it's part of the human condition. Humans want to be safe, secure, and live in a predictable reality. And reality is not safe, secure, or predictable. And the more we get used to that, the more wondrous and exciting and enjoyable reality will be.
Now, in your work and in my work, we have that view into the other realities. And so I've been doing a lot of work with people that have had experiences, that are also people that have been abducted, people that are working in the field of research. So there are different groups now that are coming or have been working with the people of Earth that have possibly been creating hybrids, etc., etc. What are you aware of now through your research? How many different groups are there?
Well, you know, it's not like they show up and have a sign. There's many people who've done lots of research. Some people, yes, I think the Greys exist. Do I know for sure anything?
Several types of Greys. Yeah.
Several types of Greys, several types of beings called the Tall Whites.
Yeah.
Maybe there's reptilians. All I know is what I've had personal experience with. And for me, these things exist in a kind of altered states of consciousness. They don't show up like we're talking here, but when you go into that trance, there's a shift in awareness where something else happens, and that's when these beings show up. I think this researcher Jenny Randall called it the Oz effect. Something strange shifts in our reality, and these beings can come into our field. So when you meet a being, they already shift your consciousness. I mean, they don't show up like we're talking like this. They emanate a field that's so different than normal human consciousness. It actually distorts our awareness. It warps our sense of being.
It's a different frequency.
The frequency emanates off these beings,
Yeah.
and you cannot stay present in the same way that we can with humans, that you can with these alien beings. I think that's a big thing that I want to communicate. Their frequency is so drastically different than ours. It affects our frequency, our brain waves, and unless you've done a lot of dream work or shamanic work or works in altered states, it's hard to stay even present with these beings because it's so disturbing.
Well, I know from some of the military research that they were trying to actually find the interface for that reason, like a almost like a technologically developed interface, so that we could have a more amicable relationship because our frequencies are so different.
I don't think it's technology. I think humans have to raise their frequency.
Well, that's what the military was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there are higher, maybe called angelics, or higher evolved beings that are here to uplift us, and their frequency is more harmonious with us.
Like the ones that I'm working with, the
I don't
master
know.
teachers.
Right.
Master teachers, the Pleiadians,
But there's life is abundant throughout the universe. It just doesn't look like what we think it looks like. And, these beings are intelligent, but interface, and I'm talking about the Greys mostly, and I think they are here to hybrid humans with their genetics because they reached the end of their evolutionary cycle.
They're here to say that again?
They're here to get some of our genetic material and breed it with them, because what we have in abundance here is emotion, feeling, creativity, love, compassion, empathy. We have those things. They're pure intellect. At least this is one version. And they realize that just pure brains
is not enough for the evolution.
It's not enough for evolution. It's not enough to evolve their race. Their race is dying out. They need what we have, is our capacity to feel and love, and so and that is in our DNA. It's not. It's hardwired into us. So they're taking our DNA, interbreeding it with their alien DNA.
Yeah.
And they're creating this race of incredible beings that are not here to take over the planet, but they are here to evolve on their own world at a higher level of consciousness with the same compassion and love that we have here as humans, but with this incredible intellect. That's my theory of the hybridization program. If they were going to take over the Earth, they would have already done that already.
Recently, we did an interview with Michael Tallinger talking about the origins of mankind and the Anunnaki gold mines in South Africa, and the human race being designed genetically to be a slave species. And we also did a great interview with John Anthony West, the rogue Egyptologist, who called anyone that is believing in Zachariah Stitchin's theories as Stitchininnies. So where do you stand?
Well, I'm somewhere between John Anthony West and Zachariah Stitchin. No, I mean, of course, John Anthony West is a brilliant Egyptologist, and we have a divine gene in us. My belief is we have been genetically manipulated by maybe the Anunnaki or some race that actively prime the evolving primates here on the planet. So we're part Earth, and we're partly from someplace else, because we're way different than any other species that are on this planet. No other species looks up at the skies and wonders what's up there. All the other animals are looking down at the ground. So I don't necessarily believe we're designed to be a slave race for the Anunnaki. I don't go that far. I think that's a lot of 20th century mythos laid on top. I think we were here to be divine beings, to raise the frequency of what it is to incarnate into a body up to a level of self-awareness. So
and how would you explain the gold mines then, that they're showing now in South Africa?
Yes, there were gold mines there.
Mhm.
I'm sure the Anunnaki did come and want people to do, or whoever, but doesn't mean the whole race of humans was created to be gold miners, although most people pretty much are gold miners now. Somehow that thought got stuck in their consciousness. But besides that, I think we're here for something else, and I think we were designed. I don't buy the whole thing. I think maybe, yes, the Anunnaki did want gold to protect their atmosphere or something like. I mean, it seems a little silly if they could protect their if they were sophisticated enough to genetically splice their genes into evolving primate. Don't you think they could somehow access gold without humans mining the gold mines? It's something a little off with the Zacharian Sitchin theory, the Sitchians theory, because I think we were genetically manipulated, but for much higher reasons. We're here to evolve the soul of humanity to realize our divinity.
And where are we now in that trajectory? And where are we going?
We're at a threshold point. I mean, we're at a really key moment in human history.
Is that why we're receiving so much information now from our alien brothers
Of course,
and sisters?
aliens, interdimensional, higher consciousness. We have this facility that is yet to be tapped. And as we open up, like you've done in your channelings and your awareness, you've opened up different parts of your brain that can receive higher frequencies that will help the planet move into a new realm. And that's right where we're at. We're right now at the point between an industrial civilization that was based on Newtonian physics, the world is a machine, to accessing an infinite flow of energy that we're always tapping into as we open our minds to pure creativity. So we're at that place where we're replacing, and when we find the key to free energy, because obviously there's energy all around us, the universe is run on free energy, then we will have enough leisure time to really drop into what I call the flowering of humanity, where everyone will have be a creative, compassionate being. But right now we're fighting over energy. So we're at a threshold point where we're moving collectively as a single planet into a new reality. And I think 2012 was also a key moment, the December 21st date, the Mayan date. Nothing really happened, that we can see, but what it did do is key us into having a galactic awareness, is getting back to the ET. So for a long time in our schooling, we realized we were a solar system. The sun had 9 planets, but we weren't aware of this bigger neighborhood that we're in. It's like saying I live in New York City, but not New York State. So suddenly with the 2012 myth that became a kind of public arena, we realized, or some of us did, that we were in a galaxy. People had mentioned the Milky Way galaxy, but the galaxy became a kind of process of the modern myth. So the sun just doesn't stay stationary. The sun is moving up and down over the galactic equator, and as we move above the galactic equator, people say we're being exposed to more cosmic radiation that's activating DMT in our brain, that's opening us to psychic and telepathic awarenesses. There's a movie out called Solar Revolution, which is all about the way new cosmic influences are opening up more of our brain.
And cosmic influences, so today is November the 5th, 2013. And there has been a very specific object in the sky now for quite some time.
What?
Which has been glowing and glowing and glowing and getting bigger, and we can see it very clearly in the Hudson Valley.
You can?
Yes.
Every day?
Every night I've been seeing it.
Every night?
Yes.
Glowing? How big an object is it?
It looks like, and I've been following, of course, on the internet all of the hype around it. People are saying that it's not Nibiru, that it's not.
There's a comet.
That it's not the comet, and that it's not Venus, but it does look like the brightness of a planet. But it's larger, and it's literally blinking, and it's changing color.
What time of night is that out there?
We've seen it in the evenings, and I'm not alone in seeing this. We've seen it in the evenings.
Does it disappear?
Around 11 o'clock at night. It disappears when I close my eyes and go to bed, yeah.
No, so it's out there all night?
I'm not sure, but whenever I've looked up into the sky, I'm seeing it.
And no one in the news has been...
It's all over the news. It's all over the internet.
And what are they saying it is?
My feeling is that it's a starship.
Well,
it's a visitation.
You are in the Hudson Valley.
I am.
mean, and that is a huge corridor for UFO activity.
But this is way off. This is very, very far away from our planet right now, and it's being seen in California.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so it's just not seen up there. So if
Yeah.
I looked out around 11, I could see it.
Yeah, or I believe it's consistently in the same place.
And the mainstream media is not paying any attention to it.
I don't follow the mainstream media so much. I have not seen it in the mainstream media.
Well, because they don't talk about what they can't explain. So if there's some strange object in the sky, they won't talk. First, they probably say thinking they don't want to scare people, but they rather just ignore it. So it could be a ship. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But there are ships out there. Maybe it is. Maybe they're coming. I think when they do come, if they come and when they come, and because I think there are ETs that will make themselves known, it's going to change everything. It's going to change how our religion, our governments, our social interactions. It's going to, for the good. It's going to expand who we are. It's going to broaden our human potential.
But they already are here.
They're here, but
they have been here, and they've been working with our governments around the world.
Well, I talk about disclosure. That's
Yes.
like the D word, disclosure. That's
Yeah.
when Obama comes out, or whoever happens to be president,
Well,
say, guess what, we have company.
But the Minister of Defence from Canada spoke up just recently.
The
and
former
said,
Minister of Defense,
Yeah.
and personally, he's not taken very seriously anymore in Canada.
Well,
I mean,
because of what he said.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
of what he says. So
Yeah.
it's like, no, I mean, it's great that he did say it. I'm
Right.
just saying, I was just in Washington in April for a 5-day hearing, 40 UFO researchers in
Right.
front of former members of Congress. And you know what? These former members of Congress were, first couple of days, it was they said, yeah. And then suddenly there was like this crystallization where it's like, oh my God, this stuff is real and you're telling us the truth and we don't know about it. So there was a huge shift of awareness just with this citizens hearings for UFO disclosure that Stephen Bassett put together. There was like an electrical spark that went through the room like the third day, where it's like they got that something, these Congress people got that there was something serious going on. Of course, they're former members of Congress, and it's like women's liberation or black liberation or gay liberation or any of these liberating movements that have taken years and years for a kind of voice to be heard, and of course it's ignored and it's like pushed away, but they kept coming back. Martin Luther King kept coming back and saying, yes, we have a right to stand up for ourselves and all that. And so eventually it caught on. It took 100 years or 200. This is going to take a while for people to catch on to say, the government isn't telling us the truth. There's more to reality than we've been told, and we're part of a bigger organization of humanity than we've been aware of before. And when we open up to those possibilities, the gifts of that opening, like things like free energy and higher states of consciousness, will be made available to us collectively. So the humans that exist now that are making wars, that are fighting over, greed and money and corporate, excess, those are dinosaurs, I think.
Tell us something which is going to really rock our boots. What is some information that you've come across lately? You're in all these amazing disclosure. What is something that is really going to change someone's reality now?
I'm looking to, Well, I think it's like this. I'm looking to change my reality, but we are not human beings, really. We have been given a false identity. We've been
all of us.
All of us.
Not just the two of us
well,
hybrids.
especially us two hybrids. But we've been programmed to think that we are just this body,
simple little human beings.
Simple, and you get your job, you have your family, you watch the television. And who we really are these multi-dimensional cosmic creatures.
Superheroes.
We're consciousness itself.
Yeah.
All we have to do is close our eyes and listen to all the ideas that are going through our minds at once. Mm-hmm. We exist on all those levels, but people don't tune out their programming enough to realize that of who they are. So you're an empath, a psychic. Everyone has that. You've shut down the programs that have brainwashed you, and you opened up another part of your brain.
Yeah.
So it's like saying, if I just had...
Actually, I have to say, I've actually opened up another part of my heart. Because I think all of it comes from heart. It's all heart energy. Yeah.
It is. But you're connected to the source. And some of us, all of us are. But it's like telling people if I didn't know I was connected to the internet and someone sitting next to me was, and I said, all the information I have is just what I put on my computer, and someone else says, well, I get this information from another source, the internet. If I didn't have access to that, I wouldn't believe them. I wouldn't believe that there was such a thing possible. But as we start to realize that we are in a soup of consciousness, we can't understand anything about ETs unless we understand consciousness. Because consciousness is the currency of exchange of all beings. Conscious means I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, I'm aware of you, we know each other, we can sense each other. That is a universal language. We happen to speak the same language frequency, but when you meet beings that don't, it's traumatizing. We say have no place to put those frequencies within our cognitive reality. So when you meet an ET, be prepared for a shock, because it is unlike anything you've encountered before. But if you can stay present enough and let the
have you met an ET?
Not in this level of consciousness, but I think I have. I mean, I don't know. I'm not conscious enough to really know about how present. I mean, I think it was a dream state, let's say. So I have met them, but they don't exist in this frequency that we are living in. So when you meet an ET, and this is why abductees are so traumatized, there's no place for them to put that level of awareness. Reality is more solid than the ground beneath your feet. And when it's not what you think it is, it's a trauma beyond any. It's worse than an earthquake. It's worse than anything natural or anything. It shakes us up to the core, and we have to then rebuild an ego out of a new place. So that makes sense. Yes, the higher ETs, the friendly ones, the angelic beings, they're all great. But I mean the beings that think nothing like us and are nothing like us. We have to start to graduate into those levels of awareness to meet them on their territory. And then we'll be a conscious civilization ready for contact.
So the understanding is that we already have connections to ETs, that we are able to time travel, that we
What do you mean by time travel?
I mean, locate in a different place immediately.
It's all frequencies of consciousness. I think so. I mean, right now, I can say, what did you remember your time when you were 5 years old? You're time traveling, because reality doesn't exist here in the physical level. It exists in our emotional level. So even though we are under the illusion of physicality, our bodies are in 3D, our minds are fourth dimensional beings, the emotional realities, and that's a non-linear approach. So yes, time travel. I mean, that's maybe not how you're saying it, but
or even bilocation. So from the work that I've been doing with abductees and the super soldiers, all of this technology, all of these other frequencies exist, and certain groups of people are now using those, let's just call them technologies for this reason, right?
Okay.
Do you see that these things are going to be becoming mainstream?
Yeah, they already are mainstream, but I think what is really happening is the grid lines that keep our dimensional realities in place are shifting.
Dissolving or shifting? Like,
to a higher...
Are they shifting in that they're including more people inside them? Because now
they're
there's
including
a very
more
small...
frequencies, as
Right.
if we've just been listening to AM radio and suddenly realize it's FM.
Right.
So the grids that control the level of realities that we exist on...
And who controls the grids?
I don't think it's control. I think it's a natural state of evolution for the planet. I don't think there's a being.
Natural state.
I think evolution, I don't think there's a being or a group of people that control the grids. I think we're evolving through time, space, and graduating to a higher level of a time, space-time grid locale, if you know what I mean. It's like, who creates life? Life is an emergent property of the universe.
But those beings that created the so-called hybrid that human beings are, the Anunnaki or whoever we want to call them, aren't they the original creators then?
No, we have the same soul as them. I think they may be more evolved intellectually, scientifically, but on a soul level, on a level of super consciousness, we're just as much a creator as they are. We exist in an immortal essence the way those beings do. You know, we are part of the net of Indra, where all beings are reflected in us. I don't think they're more evolved on one level, but we're also the same. You know, just like someone living on the streets, you know, may not be evolved culturally as someone who's like living in a penthouse, but they're the same. You know, there's a grand soul equality of all sentient beings, and sentience is the language of the universal language wherever you go. Self-awareness. If you ever look in the eyes of a dolphin, which dolphins mean brother, Delphi, they are aware in the same way that we're aware, self-aware. So we're meeting the other, and when we meet the other, we expand more of ourselves. So this is exciting times, and because the time-space grid is shifting, it's freeing people's mental controlled thought forms to expand and consider a new possibility.
And who's doing the controlling of those thought forms?
Well, I think the government for a long time has controlled
Which
those
government?
The secret government, the U.S. government, the world government, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call the church in the middle. So when Copernicus...
let me ask you, when you refer to the Illuminati, who were you referring to?
Well, let me put it this way. The church in the... when Copernicus said, you know, the sun is the center, not the earth. Well, there were like factions that we could call them part of the Catholic Church that didn't want those timelines to expand,
right?
Because they wanted to keep power.
Yeah.
So when we say there's ETs here, and it's the same sort of thought form parasites that are limiting our reality. They don't want it to expand, but it's too late. We're already on the way into some new realities. So even though there's been an incredible control, there's a secret government that's not telling us that they don't have UFOs, that there's not ETs, that the whole ridicule factor, like if you go to anyone in the media saying you've seen an ET, even if they believe it, they will have to ridicule you, because that's the only way they can deal with it. That was a government program that the Air Force set up to ridicule people that came out and said they saw a UFO. That was a planned process. So now that's all in place, but what's happening now is that we're shifting to something different, and it's sort of the unknown. It's expanding the time-space frequency, and we're jumping timelines into some new realities that have not existed.
So there's all these parallel realities that are existing.
Yes.
And then with our higher consciousness now, with our higher awareness, our higher frequency, we're going to be jumping into a different timeline.
Right, where these beings already exist and where we can be welcomed into a greater technology. We have not invented everything there is to invent. I mean, there's huge possibilities that are waiting for us to evolve our culture. Just think what free energy would do. So
Free energy is here. It is absolutely here.
I know, but
yeah.
we're not aware. We still have to pay Con Ed. But
Yeah.
when we don't, the possibilities of, or not, but the possibilities that will exist in this new timeline sequence that already does exist will open up humanity to really start to function on a higher level.
Totally liberated.
Yes.
The liberation of mankind.
And not only that, it liberates us to be more compassionate with each other, to be more inventive, to be artistic.
Yeah.
Art can flourish because when we don't have to be enslaved to pay for the energy, we can freely express ourselves and go deeper into what it is to be human. And what it is to be human, what the Anunnakis want and what the Greys want, is the possibility of feeling, the compassion of feeling. And human beings know how to express those feelings in ways better than I, but that's what life is about. That's why
Feelings.
That's why you've incarnated. You've incarnated for the experience of feelings. What else did you incarnate for, Susie Mazzoli?
Why did I incarnate here on Earth? Wow.
Besides saving the planet.
Yeah, besides saving the planet, being an emissary of the Pleiadian Lightship.
It's for feeling and experience and to know what it is to be in flesh.
I came here very clearly to be love. It was such a, I had this experience during a polarity healing session many years ago after my husband died of cancer, very, very tragically, and I had the master of American polarity therapy working on me in Boulder, Colorado, and I had this experience of literally being two cells, like two kind of, gooey cells, and I was like, what am I doing here? What is this? And then I thought, I'm bringing in the sun, I'm bringing in the light, I'm here because of love. It was such a strong feeling.
Love is a feeling, a strong
love
feeling.
Is a very
so
strong
I'm saying we incarnate to
be love.
To have the feeling. Sometimes it's not love, and that's okay too. I'm saying the human experience is about how to feel.
I'm bringing them all. I'm bringing all those feelings to be love.
All of us are.
Integrating all into
because
love.
That is the highest frequency we can exist on.
Yeah.
And ETs, the Greys, didn't know that until they realized they reached a dead end
in
their own mental process, and
right.
they said, "Oh my God, we
it's
forgot to feel." And the integration of our genetics with their genetics,
right.
at least for the Greys, the hybridization program, is to evolve that feeling of what it is to be loved.
That's what the Pleiadians have been teaching me so clearly.
Well, maybe that's what all life is about, Of course, there's other emotions, too. I think it's about all of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about jealousy, hatred, anger. We have to feel everything,
To bring us to love.
Well, to bring us to love, but also have the experience of being human.
What's interesting is I know you've done a lot of work around the crop circles, and when I look at the crop circles, I have this intense feeling of love. Where are they coming from? Who's making them? Can you give us a quick study of crop circles?
I think they are signs that speak to our right brain. They give us new information. Those formations are patterns that are reprogramming our brain with information.
Codes.
But the formations are giving us information. So these codes are opening up new frequencies in our brain.
Opening up the pathways.
Yes, as we see these very multi-dimensional type designs, even though they're pretty flat, they are creating new pathways to have new thoughts. So there's an indirect creative force that's happening that are giving people new ideas to create new realities. New possibilities, new inventions.
And who's making them?
Well, somebody said crop circles are an outreach program for the universe for the consciously impaired. So who's making them? The beings that have been assisting us all throughout human history, so we don't completely destroy ourselves. You know, so they don't want to interfere directly, but those that pay attention to higher levels of communication will be, aware that there's something new happening. So who's doing it? I don't know if they have a name. You can call them the Pleiadian. I don't know. I mean, they're not in this dimension, but if we just fine-tune our awareness like you do when you go into the States, we start to tap into these levels of reality that are speaking to us all the time. So those are the same beings that are doing these circles. In a sense, they're the same beings. I mean, who they are specifically, I think they're probably more than one group. But it's all about retraining humanity. And of course there's specifics. There's some technology designs, there's some mythic, there's some social, there's some cosmological factors, astronomical. At least in the 2000s and the 90s, there were some very specific designs. There was a design of pi, that came out to 3.14 to 10 digits, which is an infinite number, which is a universal number for any architectural sort of device. You need to know what pi is. So pi is the same for all beings in all dimensions. So in a sense, mathematics and sacred geometry and harmonics are the universal language. And so we're being talked to within the universal language of conscious beings. And it's being understood, at least on our right brain that understands patterns and information. So
the information that I've received working with people that have been abducted, whether it's, in most cases now, this is information coming from the benevolent ETs, that they receive training, and most of these people that I've worked with have been picked up since they were kids. Most of them understand that this was all a dream until we start to work, and then they realise it actually was a reality for them. And they're being taken to...
I'm one of those people.
You're one of those people?
Yes.
So they've been taken to I've heard of two schools. One school is the advanced physics, like quantum physics school, where they go and they meet the same children and they're being taught, in a regular way. The other school are the children and becoming adults that are being taught morality, being taught how to behave compassionately, how to treat all of the beings in the universe with respect. So you've had experiences.
That I semi-remember. I'm not saying
Have you been regressed?
I did have a slight regression, but it's all here, and when I'm ready, I feel to really integrate that. I think I am integrating in the work I'm doing, so it's sort of like fueling my work. These to understand what I've been calling new realities. I'm working towards.
What are those bits and pieces that you remember?
Well, one thing I do remember, a sperm being taken in the middle of the night.
From you physically?
From me physically, and then a couple of months later...
And that you were here?
Yeah.
On the Earth, or you were taken?
No, I was in the Earth, but I do remember being given a little alien baby a few months later to help put it in my hands, and it looked like a little deer with big eyes. I said, that's weird. I mean, it's in a dream state.
Right.
It's not conscious
on
this level of consciousness. But I do remember holding this being and saying, what am I supposed to do with this, to myself, and then falling back asleep. So, but people have had much more conscious experiences than me. I think Whitley Strieber is probably one of the best writers on this. But so I tapped into those levels. But I think this searching to figure out what happened has been fueling my work in discovering new reality. So I think, in this process of integration, I've been exposing other people to new possibilities. And I think it's pushing evolution, you know. So yeah, you were saying before, people are brought to the understanding either like empathy and morality or high technical physics.
Quantum physics, they refer to it.
Yeah, I think those are talking to the higher evolved parts of our left and right brain.
Yeah.
So there's two maybe schools you're saying of these people being abducted, but it's to merge into a whole brain. So we're being trained, fast-tracked on these two different levels because we are moving into a new world, and just the technology we have is accelerating us now. The fact that you could be, you know, on your cell phone, watching television, on your computer.
Bilocating as well.
These are bilocations in a way. So doing all those things at once are training us to function as a multidimensional being.
Yeah.
And that's opening up what awareness is really. It's not linear. And so as we open up to this, as we start to as maybe I start to remember more of these experiences, who we really are as human beings is evolving. And this is what's so needed at this time on the planet, is to evolve the petty prejudices that we think we are as human beings into greater.
Or to recognize, like Michael Cremo explains that, or the Hindus explain that we have devolved, that we are divine and we devolved into this state of...
But we devolved for a reason.
Yeah.
We devolved because we wanted to learn as...
Everything.
Yeah, we wanted to be as dense as we can get. Bashar, the channel says,
yeah.
It doesn't get any denser than this. Yeah. So you've done it. You've merged into limitation. You cannot get any limited than this. There's only one way out. That's up.
And that leads to our question is we ask everybody, what is love? We've asked the naked cowboy on Times Square, Batman and Robin and Spider-Man, and what is love? Big question.
It's the only question though, right?
It's the only question. It's the only answer. It's the only way up. It's the only way down.
Okay, I guess you've answered it. No, but thank you for that. I think it is, at least physiologically, it's an expansion of being where the boundaries of who we are and who we're not merge, you know, or who I am and who you are merge. The feelings, it's a feeling, but it's actually our basic core state, so it transcends feelings, because when you take everything else away, there's only love. And when I realize that, the love that you are, the real love I am, it's the same. So we merge in that state of love. If you've been in love, if you love someone, there's no boundaries. So what love is the dissolving of all boundaries and the feeling that there's only one of us here, and that one is transcendent.
Thank you so much, Alan Steinfeld, for
being
a part of the Love Now Movement interview series.
Is it called Love Now, your
It's
show?
called Love Now. It's a global
Love
movement.
Now.
It's Love Now.